Aloha and welcome to A Word with Ward. I'm Representative Gene Ward and we are broadcasting from the Hawaii State Capitol. And I have the honor of having two first responders. First time ever for A Word with Ward. I have Assistant Captain Socrates Bratakos and Fire Captain David Jenkins. Gentlemen, thank you for coming and you're most welcome.
Thank you very much for having us here, Rep. Ward.
I can't think of how much first responders, particularly in our nation's history, have such a meaningful presence, not only because of 9/11, but because of all the things that are happening now in so many parts of the world. But we will get to those as we see as we go from Hawaii to the nation and back and forth. But first, so people know who you are and some of the background, this is the first time I've ever seen a Socrates in the building. Sir, your name is Socrates Bratakos. Could you give us a little bit about your background so people know that we didn't make this up and that you are actually Socrates?
Okay, I'm Socrates Bratakos. Most people call me Chief Soc, and my dad's from Greece and my mom's from Mexico. I was born in Los Angeles, and I came to Hawaii when I was 11 years old and graduated from high school, went to the University of Hawaii, and I've been in the fire department for 30 years. I live in Kaaba with my wife and son, who are originally from China, and our two dogs, and we have a great life, and very happy to be here on your show today.
And you speak how many languages?
I speak English, Spanish, Greek, a little bit of Mandarin too. That's about it.
A rich background. And the gentleman to your left, Captain Jenkins, I understand your background is even more elaborate as a United Nations would be. Give us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, good afternoon, Captain David Jenkins. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Honolulu Fire Department. So every once in a while I get contacted by the media to give a briefing of whatever incident or emergency is going on at that time. And also I get the opportunity to do some public speaking and speak about fire safety and other issues that the fire chief would like to have put forward to the public eye. I'm a local boy. I was born and raised here in Hawaii, in Kailua. A proud graduate of Kamehameha schools like a lot of other firefighters, the class of '88. And I've been in the department for almost 25 years now, and a lot of it has been with community relations, where we do go out to schools and other community groups and talk about fire safety.
So you are the face of the Honolulu Fire Department. Is that correct? When you want to put something out to the public,
generally,
the captain does it?
Captain Jenkins will do it depending on the subject matter is. Of utmost importance, of course, our fire chief, Manuel Neves, will speak to the public. It'll be Captain Jenkins. At times, they'll put me on, but usually if it's some subject that I have some expertise in, like legislature. Otherwise, Captain Dave does a great job.
We will be getting to some of that legislation shortly, but before we went on, you were telling us about the multiple ethnicities that you represent.
Well, I do have various ethnicities. A lot of the real common ones, of course, Hawaiian, Caucasian, Chinese, also African American and Cherokee Indian as well.
Amazing. Both of you gentlemen. I'm honored to have you here. First responders have a special place in the heart of the people out there, and particularly for some of the things that we don't know about the fire department. Hopefully, and perhaps we'll learn a few of those things today. Let's start at the organizational level. HPD is under the city and county, correct?
Honolulu Fire Department is under the city and county of Honolulu. We have a fire chief, and we have nearly 1,200 members. We're honored to be the oldest fire department west of the Mississippi.
Is that right?
It was founded in 1851 by King Kauikeauli Kamehameha III, and we also had King David Kalakaua as a member of our fire department. And we are the only fire department in the United States that was started by and had kings as its members.
Now, I thought before we finished this interview, we'd find out something we never knew about. You've started us off with how many people actually knew what the assistant chief just said. That is amazing. The first west of the Mississippi. That means you got the best equipment, you got all the highest technology, you're the leader west of the Mississippi?
Well, we like to say that we're one of the best, and we have very well trained men and women. We have the best equipment that we can possibly get, and we do our utmost to serve the community of the city and county of Honolulu and all the members of the state of Hawaii, of course.
Captain Jenkins, how many fires are there per year in Honolulu?
Well, there's about 20,000 fire-related incidents a year. About 200 on average is of serious nature of home fires or significant building fires.
So 200 houses per year burned down?
Residentials are 200 significant fires. Whether it burns down or not, that's not really in that statistics, but significance where there's significant damage, injury, and response with the fire department.
To where we have to call 3 or 4 or more fire trucks to come to the scene, and that would be mostly our houses, our townhomes, and apartments. There's not so many commercial building fires, but although we see them infrequently on the TV, the truth is we're going to a large fire almost every day or every other day.
What about those other 18,000 runs? And you said there are 20,000 calls per year? What are those?
Go ahead,
I know some of those are just
Well,
health related, or
actually, we're about 50,000 emergency responses. 30,000 of those are about medical or rescue type incidents.
so they're still relying on the fire department, not the EMS and the
We
ambulance.
co-respond with the EMS rep. So the Hawaii Emergency Services Department's emergency medical services will respond an ambulance, but anything that is of a serious life-threatening nature, like a cardiac arrest or major car accident or stroke, or person who's not breathing or unresponsive, the fire department will co-respond. And it takes a lot of folks to take care of somebody who's in trouble. We all work as a team to do that.
Is your expertise the same as theirs, or is theirs the same as you, the EMS guys, or is it?
Oh, we have great paramedics in the state of Hawaii, mobile intensive care technicians, and the supervisors and leaders on the ambulances have training above and beyond the majority of our firefighters. Most of us are emergency medical technicians to the national level. No, we're not trained at the same level. However, we are trained to do basic life support. So we can do CPR and use an AED. We can give oxygen. We can stop bleeding, and we can assist the paramedics. And often it's basic life support that keeps people alive until they get advanced life support and transferred to our great hospitals and teams of physicians and nurses that will continue to take care of those folks.
So when people see a fireman, you're seeing more than just a man or a woman who puts out fires, but a whole panoply of medical and other kinds of life-saving techniques.
And hazardous materials and technical rescue and mountain rescue and ocean rescue and fire inspection and education for the public. And we train all our members so that they can be able to focus in and provide information and services to our town in all those areas. That's why it takes a lot to become a firefighter in the first place, and we constantly have to train and educate ourselves to keep up those skills and knowledges.
Let's talk about that. You got to have a PhD to become a fireman, Captain. What did it take? You said not everybody can be a fireman.
Well, the requirements are high school graduation or equivalency, over the age of 18, driver's license, state driver's license. Then the application process is through the city and county human resources, where there is a small window, about 2 to 3 day window opportunity to put the application in. Once you put the application in, there will be a competitive aptitude test in which there will be a list generated. Once that list is generated, those at the top of the list will be notified, and then they can do a physical agility test, pass or fail, or whether they can at least meet the minimum requirements for the physicality of the
What's
job.
that like, the physical one?
Well, it's pretty much trying their best to
Run, jump, push-ups?
basically run, jump, carrying pieces of equipment, climbing stairs, swimming, and things of that nature to replicate the arduous nature of the job.
Rep Board, 5,000 people sign up for the test in one day. About 3,000 of them, 3,000 actually sit down and take the test. About 1,000 of them pass. We're going to hire about 150 of them in a 2-year period. So most of our candidates they come into our recruit school, have bachelor's degrees already, although there are some folks that don't have college, and just very good at test taking and very fit and pass our interview process. And if they make it to come inside our recruit class, and they have a grueling 8-month schedule of learning the basics of being a firefighter.
And if they pass the 8 months, then they get to be what's the rank?
And they're still a firefighter recruit under probation, and at 1 year mark, they become a firefighter 1.
How do the uniform, you guys got stars, coming out of the Army, when I see a star, you guys are generals. Anybody who's got a star is a general. But a firefighter, if he's a firefighter 1, does he have 1 star then or something? Or
Well, we always like to joke because, when we go to the different classrooms, we always get that question, what do those stars mean? And my chief loves it, and of course our other chiefs really love it. We always call it our handsome stars. How many handsome stars you got is how handsome you are. But actually, it represents 5 years of service. So the amount of years you have is represented by the stars on your uniform.
So not rank, but seniority in effect. Interesting. How do I know that you're assistant chief then?
By my title that's here on my shirt.
I can
So
see the title.
that's the only place we put it. We don't put any.
There's not a
well, okay.
like captain's bars.
If you look at my badge and the insignia that's on my collar, that will tell you as well. I've got a gold badge where Captain has a silver badge, and he's got 2 trumpets. I've got 3 crossed trumpets, and so those insignia, those colors, and those speakers, trumpets tell you what rank somebody is in a fire department.
So it's kind of inside baseball then. Firemen would know a fireman by looking at the collar, but for we civilians, this is a little bit more esoteric then. It's not an easy one, but I can
No, and we just want you to know that any of us from the firefighter 1 up to the fire chief are there to help you for anything you need. That's what's important to us.
But you said there's only 1,200 of you. Is that enough?
In the city and county of Honolulu, well, it's got to be for now.
So is there like in ambulances, you got to be able to reach your victim within 3 to 5 minutes? I forget. There's federal standards for that. Is there for the fire department? You got to be able to reach a house by a certain amount of time.
We have we call it a standard of cover. We're an accredited department. There aren't many in the United States. There's a couple hundred accredited departments out of 35,000 departments in the United States. So our standards for getting to somewhere is that in an urban area like downtown Honolulu or Waikiki, that first arriving truck can get from the time we receive the 911 call to at the scene in 8 minutes, 90% of the time. In a suburb, we say that it will take us 9.5 minutes, 90% of the time, and it's a little longer in the rural areas, I believe 11.5 minutes. So when you call us, as soon as you say fire, police, ambulance, fire, ambulance, and you get the fire guy, when we pick up that phone, we will be there then that 8 minutes later.
That is quick. That's quicker than the EMS, I think, isn't it?
Well, we have more.
Often I see you guys in the neighborhood,
trucks.
and you guys usually arrive before the EMS guys arrive.
Well, with the numbers there's about 20 EMS units. With the Honolulu Fire Department, we've got about 62 emergency units. So just the numbers itself plays out.
Emergency units are the big, long trucks?
Well, some of them are the big, long trucks. Some of them the regular engine trucks. The others are rescue trucks or hazmat trucks. we drive just about as fast as the ambulance as well, and it's not a matter of road speed. It's a matter of getting there. Our lights and sirens will get us through the intersection safely. Traffic will part its way. So it's not a matter of driving fast. It's a matter of getting there safely in a quick manner.
Couple of curiosity questions. I've always wanted to ask, what kind of mileage you get with those huge trucks?
Oh,
Do you get mileage?
it's pretty,
5, 6,
it's
7?
pretty small. In that neighborhood, it's not very hard. They're diesel, of course. They're not gasoline motors or diesel, but mileage is not that high. I couldn't quote it to you right off the top of my head, but under 10 is what I believe. So,
Okay.
and depends if we're doing highway miles or city miles. If you're out in Waimanalo or Kahuku or Waina, you're going to have a lot more of those highway miles. If you're at the downtown Honolulu station at 4th Street and you're driving around Chinatown, not as good.
Now, when you are called on the scene, who's the Rudy Giuliani? The one who arrives first? If it's the EMS, they tell you what's going on, or you guys come in and you take over, you do the crime scene or whatever. What's the chain of command between the EMS and the fire department?
Good point. The first unit that arrives there takes command of the scene, because we all work under the incident management system, the entire city and county of Honolulu. So the fire captain will be the incident commander. However, the patient care is transferred to the person with the highest level of training. So the ambulance will come, and the paramedic in charge will assume the medical care of the patient. It's still a scene. There might be crashed cars or other things going on. So the fire captain will still have responsibility for the personnel and the safety of the scene. And there's many different variations of that. Of course, we work closely with the police department and lifeguards and everyone else.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. In fact, when there's 3 of you, there's the police, the EMS, and the fire department. The incident responder would still be the first and then the highest qualified?
All depends. A smaller incident, we all have our roles, and it's a larger incident, we may make a unified command. We'll take the commanders of the 3 agencies, they'll get together, and they'll figure out and designate who the leader is, say if it's a long-term incident, and then we'll all be in charge of our respective resources.
My producer is saying, you haven't even got to the issues of legislation yet, or some of my constituents are saying, hey, we had a huge fire in Hawaii Kai. You haven't even asked them about that. Were you gentlemen familiar with what happened at the Cocoa Crater area and the stables? The undetermined amount of fire that we've never had so close to the neighborhood?
Oh, yes, we are, actually. I think, Dave, you've been asked about this recently.
Captain, what's the state of the art of that fire in Hawaii Kai about it?
Well, that
10 days
fire
ago.
was, I believe, the weekend with Super Bowl, and it started off on the Saturday, and it quickly spread up the hill on Cocoa Crater. Had some circumstances with a variable direction wind, where it was blowing in all different directions and causing some visibility problems with the helicopter. So it had some specific problems with that. However, the personnel on scene and incident commander was able to get the fire knocked down, and then throughout the rest of the weekend, the personnel were working on mopping up as far as putting out the fires inside the burn area. Now, there were some areas that it did get close to homes where there were some residents that were very concerned. Also, there was a fire going up into the crater itself, where it did affect the stables.
The horses, yeah.
And the horses were evacuated. And as far as the fire directly impinging on the stables or even directly impinging on the homes itself, it never came to that point. It did come up to a point that was reported 30 to 50 feet for homes where there was maybe even some foliage on the property that did get some heat damage as well. That did come up to the homes, and as far as direct threat to the homes itself, I know there's been a little bit of a contention about that, where the homeowners they felt very threatened, and I completely understand. If it was my home and I had flames coming close to my home, of course it would feel that way.
Yeah.
But the incident commander and the the professional firefighters that they've been doing this, they do realize that once the fuel is gone, meaning the brushed and cleared area, that buffer zone, that 30, 40 feet of clear area, grass and no other fuel for the fire to transfer from the wildland area, the untamed brush area, through the manicured yard and all that clear area to the homes itself, there was a very clear, distinct demarcation where it didn't threaten the homes directly.
That means you guys did a good job.
That
It
means
was a good job,
Right.
right? I mean, in summary of that, you did a good job. The only thing that my constituents are concerned, it's, quote, undetermined.
Yes.
Now, you said earlier you use a scientific method, hypothesis, and
We do,
data.
and the truth of the matter is, in a wildland fire, it's very difficult to find out how it started. There's not often a V pattern like we find out in structures. There's normally not somebody around because, you know, really a lot of times kids or young folks start fires. Some of us might remember back to when we were firebugs, when we were little kids, or new folks who were firebugs, and we know that happens. But
magnifying glass.
yeah, but they run away, you know, whatever they had to light up the fires, and it's difficult after and all the chaos to find out what really happened. It's a little different in a building where there's a lot of patterns, a lot of witnesses, and we're able to find forensic evidence. It's not necessarily so in a brush fire, and unless we can say 51% that's what we think happened, we will say undetermined. So
And we would be, do you and the chief get together, or how do you say, well, this is it? Is there kind of a panel, or?
we send our fire investigators. So if the fire investigators are not called out, then the ranking officer at the scene is in charge of finding out the cause and origin of that fire. So we will call out our fire investigators generally for those 200 large building fires that Captain Jenkins was talking about, or maybe for a very large or very suspicious wildland fire. But we have hundreds, if not thousands, of wildland fires on Oahu every year. So in general, we don't do that.
So one of your biggest troublemakers is the wind. It sounds like when you said the wind was going here and there, that probably is worse than where if somebody set a fire, what you do to control it. But do you interview the people whose homes were up front and close to the fire as a way of determining, like, hey, I saw so-and-so doing such and such, or does any of that stuff come into it?
Well, if we do walk around and try to find out what happens, if somebody comes and tells us, then we're happy to find out. But where the fire came near to the homes is not necessarily where it started.
Yeah.
I'm going to say another thing that might be not very popular, but I grew up in Niu Valley and went out towards Waikai, and there's not so many fires. Now, I worked out at Waianae Fire Station, and there's more fires out there. So sometimes I think in different areas of our island, we're not used to seeing fires. We're not used to seeing the firefighters come close, come to the area and put out the fires.
You get paid more if you're in the Waianae fire?
You do not get paid any more. We're all the same, no matter where we are. But we do know that different parts of the islands have different levels of experience with wildland fires, the bushes and trees catching on fire, and seeing the firefighters come and put them out. And if you're not used to it, and even if you are used to it, it's scary seeing trees and bushes and flames, and they're moving towards your home, and you don't know what we do. That's okay. There's a street there, and they got yards, and we're going to pull the hoses, and we're not going to lose a single home. Well, we might know that, but we know the public, our customers, don't.
So in the last few years, you haven't lost a life or a home in terms of fires, or is it usually the commercial fires that are the most dangerous?
From a wildland fire?
Yeah, that.
No.
Not so.
Not in the recent years.
Gentlemen, I'm reminded that we are at the state capitol, and there's legislation that you guys may be able to weigh in and give some insights, not only to myself, but to those watching, particularly the one about sprinklers.
Yeah.
What's the position that the fire department would like people to know about?
Well, we want to know that we're not in favor of Act 83 prohibiting the counties from mandating fire sprinklers in new 1 and 2 family dwellings, with the exception of road access and water supply for the fire department. Because if the act were to end or to get extended, it will not automatically mandate fire sprinklers. The legislature formed a state building code council to review the national model codes, adopt and amend them for the state through a series of hearings, apply through the governor at public hearings, and that further goes on to the county councils for review and amendment. And anything that should not be appropriate for Hawaii will get changed. And furthermore, we see that technology is changing over time with sprinklers. We got them in hotels, and we got them in apartment buildings, hotels, hospitals. They're going into townhouses now, and we think it's a safety issue, but there's costs to it, and everybody's concerned about housing. We all are. We all got to pay mortgages, and so what we're saying is this does not automatically mandate sprinklers, but we said they're a good thing. They provide for safety, and so every county should be able to consider it. The way we considered putting in drywall, the way we considered putting in ground fault interrupter switches, the way we considered in putting hurricane clips, all those construction features added to the cost of housing, but they provided for safety for the residents. So that's what we think. Give it a chance. Technology always gets cheaper over time, and it's something that's providing safety for the people. If it's not right for our state or for our counties, it'll get vetted through the processes. If the legislature is able to allow the body that they set up, the Building Code Council, and the counties, who after all are experts at their areas and the people they're serving, we think that that's a good way to do it.
So gentlemen, thank you very much. This is Representative Gene Ward saying thank you for watching A Word for Ward. Aloha.